Welcome everybody to a look at a sort of a new release. Technically came out in the last week of February, but I forgot about it due to a certain series of circumstances. But thankfully, another channel on this here website reminded me of this release. He's I think called Elliot Colwyn. He does a boutique Blu-ray channel. Go check him out if you haven't already. But yeah, he basically reminded me of this release, and it is a series of films from Universal. They're horror films from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. 8 discs, all on 4K, and yeah, we've got this fantastic new artwork on the front and on the interior, as well as all films listed on the back as well. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of horror films, regardless of any other kind of genre that is attached to them, science fiction, romance. Basically, anything that is attached to horror is something I'm going to be enjoying anyway. So, yeah, I really love the look of this release. Now it kind of reminds me of the Criterion collection of Godzilla films from the Showa era. Now that featured obviously a lot more films, but they were all on Blu-ray. So yeah, the increase in films is what made that a bit more expensive than this. But this did cost £100, which is obviously quite a lot. But at the end of the day, you think of it, a lot of 4Ks these days are between £15 and £20. Times that by 8, then that's going to be more than 100. And the two box sets that featured all 8 of these films come to around £80 on their own. So for an extra 20 quid or so, yeah, you're getting a fantastic looking thing which will look great on a shelf, which is where this is going to go eventually. And yeah, it's just a fantastic looking piece of artwork overall, and it's all done by this guy who we have in right up about in the back. So he's called Tristan Eaton, and there. So we've got a bit of a write up on him. I can see his face there, and yeah, he's done a fantastic job with this artwork. Now he's even got his own website, tristaneaton.com. So check that out if you want to see more of his artwork. But yeah, fantastic bit of artwork, and yeah, features 8 great films inside. So we have a table of contents. So we basically have an introduction called A Legacy of Horror. And then we have write-ups on each of the films. Plus, we also have write-ups on the likes of Bela Lugosi, director James Whale, Boris Karloff, Jack Pierce, John P. Fulton, Elsa Lanchester, Lon Chaney Jr., Claude Rains, and Tristan Eaton himself. So let's look at the first bit. Now, we'll talk about the films in some regards, but you're not going to get me doing a full review of each film because there's so many of them. Yeah, there's the start of it. So, the Legacy of Horror. So, yeah, you got the original Phantom of the Opera. I think it's yeah, original Phantom of the Opera from the 20s that starred Lon Chaney, not Lon Chaney Jr. He's his son. But yeah, that was a film that really did push forward the boundaries of horror in cinema, regardless of it being in silent or not. And yeah, then we've got some more write-ups there. Yeah, it's a really big release. This is. I'm really surprised it came in, a good condition considering how big it is and how susceptible such a large release would be to being damaged. And then yeah, we got our first film. So from 1931, we have Dracula, directed by Todd Browning, with again really fantastic new artwork there. So yeah, this clocks in at 74 minutes long, and it's about a powerful and ruthless vampire named Count Dracula who arrives in London to prey on young socialite women. Standing in the vampire's way is a group of concerned men and the enigmatic Dr. Abraham Van Helsing. So, yeah, solid start to this set at 3.5 out of 5 stars from me. But then again, it has been a very long time since I last saw that film. I think it's been about 6 years. So maybe with it being on 4K and getting a new appreciation for these kind of older films, I might well like it some more. Because yeah, I will definitely admit that my love of film and more open-minded love of film has definitely grown over the last 6 7 years. So yeah, hopefully I'll enjoy that film a little bit more upon a rewatch. And yeah, we've got a bit of movie trivia here as well. We've got Dracula's hypnotic stare was achieved when cinematographer Carl Freund shone a couple of tiny spotlights into Bela Lugosi's eyes. So a little bit of trivia there. And then we have a write-up on Bela Lugosi as well. So yeah, fantastic actor. I've seen him in many, many films that I've really rather enjoyed, and Dracula was obviously the one that kicked that off. I got a bit more movie trivia here. Reportedly, Lon Chaney was originally considered for the role of Dracula, but when he died before production began, the role went to Bela Lugosi. So, no doubt Bela Lugosi was somewhat thankful for him passing, but obviously I doubt he was, overjoyed to hear the death of someone else. And then from 1931, we have Frankenstein. Again, nice new artwork there. So this is directed by James Whale, one of 3 films directed by him in this set. Clocks in at 71 minutes long, so it's about Dr. Henry Frankenstein, who is obsessed with assembling a living being from parts of several exhumed corpses. So yeah, I find this to be slightly better than Dracula, 4 out of 5 from me. But yeah, it's still a really, really classic film in its own right without having to compare it against anything else. And yeah, we've got some movie trivia in this as well. So this is why I'm not, doing a full-blown review of each film, is just because there's so much to talk about within this release. So yeah, movie trivia. We have the use of electricity to bring the monster back to life was not in Mary Shelley's novel, yet has been used in nearly every other film version since Universal's Frankenstein. So yeah, this Frankenstein was certainly a case of a film adapting a novel, but being so iconic in terms of its imagery and whatnot, that imagery has long since been associated with Frankenstein and whatnot. And obviously, a lot of people make the wrong association of Frankenstein being the name of the monster. It's actually the name of the doctor himself. So that's something that a lot of people obviously mistake for. More movie trivia. The large shoes that Boris Karloff wore as the monster weighed 13 pounds each. Yeah, that would have been really rather painful on your knees and your legs at that time. And then to help achieve the gaunt, sunken cheek look of Frankenstein's monster, Boris Karloff removed his partial bridge work. So to basically change the look of his mouth. So yeah, we have James Whale and Boris Karloff there in pictures. So yeah, James Whale, unfortunately, outside of the 30s, didn't really make much. Some because of his primarily because of his sexuality, which was deemed not a kind of thing that would help in terms of the movie business, and that's why he unfortunately did not make much more outside of the 30s, which is a great shame because he's a fantastic director. The fact is, he's directed 3 of the most iconic horror films from the 30s in this set alone. And yeah, that wasn't obviously enough, despite the immense amount of money each one of those films made. And then from 1932, we have The Mummy, directed by Carl Freund, who we've already talked about. He was the cinematographer for Dracula. So he went on to direct, and yeah, this clock's in at 73 minutes long. So it's about an ancient Egyptian priest named Imhotep, who is revived when an archaeological expedition finds his mummy, and one of the archaeologists accidentally reads an ancient life-giving spell. Imhotep escapes from the field site and searches for the reincarnation of the soul of his lover. So 3 out of 5 from this. This is the lowest rated film in this set. Again, I might well get a new appreciation for it by rewatching it again, because it has again been a long time since I've seen it. Movie trivia, we got the script was originally titled Cagliostro, then Imhotep, and finally The Mummy. Probably because The Mummy is a lot more of a easier marketable kind of name. It also took 6 hours to apply Lon Chaney's. Oh no, we've. Why is yeah? That's a bit strange. Oh, it's because we're talking about Jack Pierce. Right, that's fine. So yeah, Jack Pierce did the prosthetics and the makeup and whatnot for a lot of these characters. So that's why it's talking about in the movie trivia for just after the Mummy about the Wolfman. So apparently it took 6 hours to apply Lon Chaney Jr.'s Wolfman makeup and 3 hours to take it off. No doubt it took so long to take it off because he wanted to preserve the continuity between scenes, because they're not going to do the whole film in one day. So yeah, you'd have had to keep up the continuity between all of that. So yeah, Jack Pierce, 1889 to 1968 is the his time of being around. And yeah, he also did the makeup for the Mummy. Did he do the makeup for Frankenstein? Yeah, he did the face of makeup for the Frankenstein as well. So that's interesting. And then from 1933, again directed by James Whale, we have The Invisible Man. Now, this is undoubtedly my favourite of the set in terms of when I watched them originally. So yeah, this clock's in at 71 minutes long. So it's about a scientist called Jack Griffin, who while working in Dr. Cranley's laboratory, was always given the latitude to conduct some of his own experiments. His sudden departure, however, has Cranley's daughter Flora worried about him. Griffin has taken a room at the nearby Lion's Head Inn, hoping to reverse an experiment he conducted on himself that made him invisible. But the experimental drug has also warped his mind, making him aggressive and dangerous. He's prepared to do whatever it takes to restore his appearance. So, yeah, like I said, this is my favourite of the films in this set. 4.5 out of 5. An absolute glorious film. Not just because of the special effects or the direction or the fact that, the Invisible Man kills way more than, the likes of Jason or Michael Myers or anything like that. He killed way more just in this single film than any of those. But then again, primarily because there's a train crash which kills hundreds. But yeah, fantastic film, really really great. Movie trivia: a double taller with a more prominent nose was often used in filming instead of Claude Rains. Talks about John P. Fulton, who I think did the effects. Yeah, he used traveling maps, optical printing, and other tools of the movie magician's trade. He and his crew painstakingly created the illusion of a scientist, rendered transparent by a fantastic drug. According to Fulton, it was not until take 20 of some scenes that he felt merely well started toward getting our shot. And yeah, there were 4 follow-ups to this film, but none were as good as that one, even though the second one starred Vincent Price. And then we also have from 1935, also directed by James Whale, The Bride of Frankenstein. So yeah, one of the most consistent films in terms of a sequel, because it's just as good as the first film. And yeah, clocks in at 75 minutes long. So Dr. Frankenstein has not been killed as previously portrayed, and now he wants to get away from the mad experiments. However, when his wife is kidnapped by his creation, Frankenstein agrees to help him create a new monster, this time a woman. So, yeah, really, really great. Fantastic addition to the cast is Elsa Lanchester as the Bride of Frankenstein. Movie trivia: the bride's now famous hair was held in place with a wired horsehair kite cage, which, yeah, I doubt was a very light thing to be wearing. And yeah, Elsa Lanchester, fantastic actress, lived between 1902 and 1986. And yeah, she became well known for her horror roles from there on in. Quite frankly, there she is. Alright, so moving on to 1941, we have The Wolfman, directed by George Wagner. Yeah, again, really nice artwork. So this got 70 minutes long. I believe that makes this the shortest of the lot. But after his brother's death, Larry Talbot returns home to his father and the family estate. Events soon take a turn for the worse, though, when Larry is bitten by a werewolf. 3.5 out of 5. Bride of Frankenstein, by the way, got 4 out of 5, but I didn't mention that because I said that I enjoyed it just as much as the first film. But yeah, still 3.5 out of 5, not bad whatsoever. Slightly below Dracula though, even though I've given it the same rating purely because Dracula is just a way more iconic film with a really good lead performance from Bela Lugosi. But movie trivia for The Wolfman: screenwriter Kurt Siodmak created the often repeated werewolf myths that a person becomes a werewolf for a bite, a werewolf can only be killed by a silver bullet, and that a man can change into a wolf during a full moon. Now, obviously, some adaptations of being turned into werewolves kind of remove some of those elements just to make it a different kind of film. But yeah, they're the kind of elements that have quite clearly lived on for quite some time, well over 80 years now in terms of werewolf movies. So Lon Chaney Jr. starred in this film as the Wolfman, and yeah, obviously following on in the footsteps of his father, who unfortunately died quite early. But yeah, movie trivia: when Larry Talbot fights a wolf, it is actually Lon Chaney Jr.'s German Shepherd, because yeah, they weren't going to use a real wolf for that kind of thing. And then from 1943, the only one in colour out of this set, and it is The Phantom of the Opera. So yeah, directed by Arthur Lubin. Clocks in 89 minutes long, so it's also the longest film in this set, but that just makes it all the more able to, devolve into its lavish production, the colour, format and whatnot. And yeah, just absolutely looks glorious in colour. And yeah, so clocks in at 89 minutes, like I said. So, following a tragic accident that leaves him disfigured, crazed composer Enrique Claudin is transformed into a masked phantom who schemes to make beautiful young soprano Christine Dubois the star of the opera and wreak revenge on those who stole his music. 4 out of 5 from me personally. I know a lot of people don't like this film, and it might be because of the 1920s silent film being firmly stuck in their mind, but I've yet to see that film. So I went into this completely open-minded and with new eyes, and yeah, I just absolutely love it. This is actually the third film to star Claude Rains in the film, after being in The Wolfman and Invisible Man. And yeah, the technical format looks absolutely superb. So yeah, Claude Rains lived between 1889 and 1967. And yeah, earned a reputation as one of the screen's most consummate professionals. And yeah, all of Claude Rains' Invisible Man dialogue, by the way, was pre or post recorded and dubbed in later, because obviously it wouldn't really matter, especially when he's invisible. But yeah, sometimes he had a stand in for that. Movie trivia: the film set for Phantom of the Opera was a Paris Opera House stage located on Universal Stage 28, and has been used many, many times for various movies. It is reportedly the oldest remaining film set in the world and rumoured to be haunted, of course. But yeah, the fact that that still exists is really rather remarkable, considering sets are typically made to just last a few weeks. The fact that it still exists is great. And finally, from 1954, we have Creature from the Black Lagoon. So, yeah, this is one of the iconic 50s sci-fi horror films, directed by Jack Arnold, who did 3 other iconic sci-fi horrors: Tarantula, The Incredible Shrinking Man, and how's the other one already slipped my mind already? Yeah, it slipped my mind. Tarantula. How can I forget it? It Came from Outer Space. Yeah, another classic of the genre, quite frankly. But yeah, movie trivia. Oh, well, no, we'll get into that in a second. So yeah, this clock's at 79 minutes long, so the second longest in the set. A scientific expedition searching for fossils along the Amazon River discover a prehistoric gillman in the legendary Black Lagoon. The explorers capture the mysterious creature, but it breaks free. The Gillman returns to kidnap the lovely Kay, fiancée of one of the expedition, with whom it has fallen in love with. So 4 out of 5. Again, another really rather strong effort. Easily one of the best of its type from the 50s. Movie trivia: the actors who played part of the creature could hardly see out of the costume as the eyes were fixed part of the rubber suit. But yeah, this was iconic back in the day because of its underwater cinematography, which I do not believe had happened all that much at the time. It was also shot in 3D, so another kind of, revolutionary kind of thing. Rico Browning, who was the gillman for the underwater scenes, was required to hold his breath for upwards of 4 minutes at a time. That's incredible. I know a lot of people can only hold their breath for what, a minute, maybe a minute and a half. So to hold your breath for a good 4 minutes is, while swimming around and having to think of the maneuvers you're doing and whatnot, is insane, quite frankly. And yeah, then we got the Tristan Eaton bit at the back that I've already showed you. And then we have all 8 discs, all in chronological order. So starting with Dracula here and working your way down and then across. And I love all the posters that it's got in the background, because not only are the posters for the films that are featured, but they're also posters for films that were sequels. You have, I'm not sure if you can quite see, but you've got Invisible Agent there, which is obviously a sequel to one of the Invisible Man film. Then you have a few of the Frankenstein films there under the disc. Then you also have, oh dear, you've got Son of Dracula there. Then you've got the original Phantom of the Opera. Then you've also got Revenge of the Creature, sequel to the Creature from the Black Lagoon. And then there's probably some more there somewhere that I haven't quite noticed, but yeah, it's just a really rather nice background for the discs to be laid on rather than just, a blank, you know, bit of colour or whatnot. It's really rather nice. And yeah, I haven't quite managed to be able to watch all of these yet. I've watched about the first 15 minutes of Dracula just to see what the 4K looked like. And yeah, it does look better than the Blu-ray that I already had of it. Also, I swear the Blu-ray had some sound issues in terms of, a slight hiss in the background. There's none of that really on this 4K, so they've certainly improved the sound at the very least. So, yeah, looking forward to watching all 8 of these when it eventually comes to October, because that's when I really rather go all hell for leather for watching horror films. But regardless, a fantastic set featuring 8 really rather fantastic films. I know I rated The Mummy only 3 out of 5, but it's still a fairly decent rating. And again, it's a rating that was made when I was obviously a little less open-minded and a little less um, knowledgeable about these kind of films, because for the longest time, obviously, I'd have watched the likes of the 1999 The Mummy, and maybe I was foolishly expecting it to be somewhat like that, but obviously it is not the case. So, yeah, excellent release, and I highly recommend getting it if you can. There's not that many of them. I think there's only 5,500 of these have been put out, and that is worldwide. So, yeah, there probably won't be many of these. I think I got this on Amazon. Not sure if it's available anywhere else. It certainly wasn't available on lots of HMV or other retailers like Zavi. So yeah, but still get this, especially if you're into your horror films. But even if you're not and you're looking into getting into your horror films, especially from the early period, then yeah, this is going to be a great release for you to start off with, because at the end of the day, 8 really rather good films. Several in here that have been highly influential, and yeah, several of which have obviously lived on in terms of their monsters. Frankenstein, Dracula, still many of those being released right into the 60s and 70s. And I think Dracula's the one that's obviously lived on the longest, but ironically, given, he's undead. But yeah, still, get this if you haven't already. And yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts on all 8 of these films if you've seen them before. But nonetheless, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.